Hello, AGO World. This is Jason Willoughby, First Herald of the Legion of Honor again, and I'm here to talk about another great passage that really helps us in the midst of ongoing difficulties and trials. This passage is in 1 Kings 19, and it's about what Elijah the prophet does after the greatest success of his life in 1 Kings 18, where he faces down the prophets of Baal and lightning falls and the people of God have an encounter with God and return to him. And on the eve of this great victory, Jezebel the queen, the evil queen of the northern kingdom of Israel, threatens his life. And what does Elijah do? Does he face up to her? Does he stare her down? Does he act courageously? No, he runs away. In fact, he runs all the way south through the northern kingdom, all the way through the southern kingdom of Judah, and then he ends up at Beersheba, the southern city, and he goes out into the wilderness, and 3 days' journey, he lays down and he says this: "It is enough, O God, for I am no better than my fathers. Please take my life." Here is this mighty man of God who has completely failed and run away, and he's literally telling God, please just kill me. Talk about depression. He is at the lowest place. And weirdly enough, sometimes after we have a great success, we can have a valley equally as deep. So here's Elijah the prophet in the midst of failure. He's ashamed of himself. He's isolated. He's gone out into the wilderness. And what's interesting is God, instead of taking his life, sends an angel not once, but twice to feed him with strengthening food, which allows him to go 40 days and nights without eating another meal. So then he becomes on a different journey, not fleeing Jezebel, but now he goes down to Mount Sinai. He goes to meet with God, and he stations himself in that cleft of the rock, and then there's this mighty wind and the rendering the rocks and an earthquake and a fire, three giant, supernaturally powerful events. And then there's the voice of gentle blowing. And Elijah goes out and God asks him a very tender question. Why are you here? Now, God knew why he was there, but he wanted Elijah to tell him, why are you here? Basically, Elijah says this: I'm the only one left. They've all turned away from you, and poor me. And God does this twice. He gets them to tell what's going on inside of him. And then instead of saying, poor Elijah, you just need a little stroking, a little petting, what God says is, now go. There's a new plan. You're going to go anoint a new king of Israel, a new prophet to take your place, and a new king of the number one military rival of the northern kingdom, Aram. You're going to anoint a new king of him, and I'm going to bring judgment on these people using these three new personages that are going to be in the story after you're gone. So here's Elijah at the lowest place. He is strengthened and comforted. God allows him to tell what's on the inside of his heart. And then instead of indulging him in self-pity, the Lord says, here's the new plan. Now go. The reason I love this passage is because it just ministers to us in our depressions and low points that others, even the greatest people who have served God, have similarly failed. And God, in his leadership, in his kindness, helps bring Elisha out of the pit. And so far as we know, he never looked back. And remember, he was one of only 2 people that was translated up into heaven without dying a natural death. I'd say that's quite a good ending, don't you? So if you're struggling with failure and feeling low, go to 1 Kings 19 with our friend Elijah the prophet and see if God might not have something good to say to you in that low point.